Hey, what's up guys, I'm Torn and welcome back to Victoria 3 as we are playing as the United States. So sorry there wasn't a video over the last couple days, had some issues, both with recording and some personal problems there in our life, so wasn't able to get any videos recorded for 2 days, unfortunately. But yeah, we're back into the series and I believe we're on a new patch. I saw on the Paradox forums that they posted the patch notes for the hotfix. I didn't see it download, but I could have just missed it. But I do believe that it is out now, so we should be on that new hotfix, which has made some major adjustments when it comes to balance, fixing bugs. But one of the bugs we've experienced here, which I knew was a bug and wasn't intended, is the fact that the civil wars weren't happening. The interest groups weren't really resisting radical changes that you were making to your country, including things like banning slavery. They just basically allowed you to do it very easily. We talked about that in an earlier episode, that it wasn't supposed to be designed that way. And yeah, it looks like it was very much a bug. So they have said they improved it. I don't know if they actually did, but they said that they worked on improving that so that it shouldn't be so easy from here on out getting laws done, but particularly those really radical changes like banning slavery that certain interest groups should oppose potentially violently. Through a civil war or revolution. So that has been adjusted. There's a ton of stuff that they changed. So the balance is going to be a little bit different in the videos from here on out, from what we experienced in the earlier part of the series. And that's to be expected with the game, just going out into the wild, being released to the public. They're going to be making a lot of adjustments, a lot of balance changes, fixing bugs, all that kind of good stuff. So before we go any further, I did want to show you guys the cultural overview map. Somebody asked me in the comments to show this. So this shows the what you're seeing on the map is showing the majority culture of those states. Now you can hover over each state. So like here in Pennsylvania, you can hover over them and see that they have 25.9, so almost 26,000 Irish pops. We can see New York has 7.13 thousand Irish, so on. So you can see the exact breakdown of the cultures in your states. But this here is just showing us the majority culture. And as you expect, the Yankees dominate the North, the Dixies dominate the South. We have two states, Louisiana and South Carolina, where it's Afro-Americans, Black Americans, who are dominating those states, 374,000 in South Carolina and 140,000 in Louisiana. The Cherokee are over here in Oklahoma, as you'd expect them to be. And this is an interesting one, though. South German is the dominant culture of Wyoming. And it looks like they also have a lot of North Germans. So between the two of them, the majority of the population seems to be German. So it's been a few days, but you'll probably recall that our plans to attack Mexico did not go well, considering the fact that they have a defensive pact with both the Russians and the French. And then something I didn't notice is the French actually have a custom union with them. So Mexico has joined their economy, their market, their national market. So they're essentially part of their country economically. They share a market. That means they have access to the same prices, the same goods, all that kind of good stuff. So both of them are sharing that, and Mexico is the junior partner, while France is the senior partner of that. They can leave whenever they want, unless they're forced to by war, which they weren't, or forced to by a diplomatic action. But yeah, they can leave their customs union if they so desire, but more than likely they'll probably stay in it. So that's an interesting development as well, particularly because we need an ally. Because if we want to attack anybody at this point, we're going to have to fight a great power. There's nobody really for us to attack that isn't themselves a great power or isn't a puppet of a great power. So for instance, I was thinking about Cuba here. I kind of want to get a war going. I know this isn't a war game, as I talked about in the previous video, but I haven't really got to show the war mechanics yet because we only had those little uprisings, the native uprisings. And so we really haven't had a major conflict, and I was hoping Mexico would be the first one that would be fighting against, and we can't do that just yet. I don't want to fight both the French and the Russians with the Mexicans. I think that'd be a little bit too much for our little tiny army here. So Cuba, on the other hand, would just be Spain, because they're a puppet of Spain. So you attack them, and you just got to fight the Spanish. Now, I wouldn't be surprised if another great power gets involved, though, so that's something to consider. But Spain themselves are not a great power. They're not all that scary. So, I'd rather fight Spain and one other great power over both Russia and France. in addition to Mexico, because Cuba probably doesn't have a ton of troops. Let me just take a look here, what they got. I mean, it's comparable. If they raise up all their conscripts, it's comparable to what the Mexicans currently have. But yeah, not a ton of troops. Spain also, you know, they have a lot of units here, but their fleet, which is going to be important for them because they're going to have to, you know, in order to attack us, they would have to do naval invasions. And their fleet is comparable to ours. We could actually potentially beat their fleet. But you add another great power in there, it's gonna get more difficult. You attack Canada, same situation. You gotta fight a great power. You gotta fight the British. So what I'm thinking is, because Spain's weaker than Britain, makes more sense to go after Cuba over Canada. But we still need an ally, with the expectation that Spain will pull somebody else in, just because that typically happens, especially when you're the aggressor. So what I'm thinking is we should ally with the French. Now, the reason why I chose them, first of all, we already have a close relationship with them, or trading partners. We've been working with them throughout the campaign, but also they're the only ones who are willing to accept an alliance, as you can see here. They've been asking us for a defensive pact for some time. So basically, these allow the country to come into diplomatic plays that involve you, even if they don't have an interest in those regions. So if somebody attacks you and you have a defensive pact in those countries, who would be called into the diplomatic play, but not if you attack somebody else. If you want them to be able to get involved for offensive actions, then you need an alliance. So that would result in them being called into the diplomatic play, even if we're the ones attacking. We're gonna go ahead and do this alliance here, and they're gonna accept that proposal. And that goes both ways. It means if they attack anybody or get attacked, then we'll be brought into those diplomatic plays as well, which is why I was kind of hesitant to do the defensive pact, because I didn't actually want to be pulled into European conflicts. But Europeans are in deep here in North America at this point, supporting each other and stuff. So yeah, I think it's something we should do. We should get ourselves an ally. And does it look like we're already pulled into something? Yeah, there's already a situation here. But this is just a small diplomatic play, but we're not actually going to help them. We don't have to assist them, and it's not going to be a war they're going to need our assistance either. See, that just pops up here. We won't mobilize our troops or anything. It's not going to be necessary. We can see that they've already pulled us into a conflict here, into a diplomatic play. And so yeah, we'll be pulling them into our own when we go after Cuba. Because again, I think that's the best option. However, we're not going to do that just yet. We have a few things we need to do. We're going to finish building the things that we're already working on. So war's broken out here. Obviously, we don't raise any units up, and it's a small conflict. You know, no other European powers got involved. So yeah, this is going to be nice and quick. France will be able to get it wrapped up, and we won't help at all with that, because it's just not necessary. We have these couple fronts here. Yeah, not really necessary for us to assist them. They should be able to get that conflict done quickly. And there's really no cost to us, since we didn't raise up our troops or anything. The cost only comes with the, actually having to pay for your troops being raised up. So yeah, we'll get all this constructed here, which I actually wanted to get a bit more construction now, because we're doing okay on money. Obviously we're losing some here, but the gold reserves are pretty high. We want to keep the gold reserves high for war, because warfare is incredibly expensive in this game, as it should be. So we do want to keep that high. Let's go ahead and build a couple construction sectors, so we can build a little bit more at a time. I'm thinking one in Pennsylvania, one in New York for now. Can also do one into Massachusetts, I suppose. Remember, these do have local bonuses, so where you build them is important. That means those states can build faster. We'll just do those two for now, and what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and make sure that they're going to build quickly. Let's put them up towards the top so they can assist all this other stuff here. We will put the steel mills up there, since those were close to being done. So let that get finished, and I think steel's like incredibly expensive in our country right now. Looks like luxury clothes are quite expensive as well. Remember, we do have to trade for those, so if there's any options for trading. Yeah, they are getting kind of expensive. You're seeing some balancing here, because as I talked about before with the how things balance themselves out, that's true with the trade as well. That if it gets where it's profitable for them to trade for more, and there's more available to be traded for, they will. That all happens automatically, which is nice. There is the potential to get a little bit of profit if we trade with the Dutch here. It's really not a lot. of luxury clothes, though. Not going to make a huge difference. It'll reduce the price some, though, so it's probably worth it. So let's go and trade with them. Cost goes down too low, though. There's not going to be a lot of profitability there. Alright, so we're just being notified that the French generals are all moving. Not really our concern, because we're going to be staying out of that conflict. The principle of population. So some intellectuals are warning that if the poor laws are not passed, an increasing population of unproductive poor will become unmaintainable burden on society. So we can get a 15% enactment success chance bonus, but also increase the number of radicals among the lower shredded pops throughout the entire country. Okay, so 2%, that's kind of high for the whole country. Or we can, yeah, that's unfortunate. Or we can lose 15% chance of success, which means they basically got to cancel the enactment. So you know what? Let's just go ahead and do this and get it up to 32.3%, even if it is going to result in a lot more radicals, which is unfortunate because we were actually ticking down the number of radicals that we had there. I mean, yeah, we're going to continue building all this, and once we get this done, which you can see, we're now going to build. We have 95 construction here, so we can build a lot more. Once we get this stuff done here, then we're going to work on our, and it looks like we just finished up, work on our military. Let me just see if there's anything we really absolutely have to have at this moment, and if it's not something that we can just fix with production methods. So obviously transportation, we need to continue building those rails out. The coal and sulfur seem to be the main issue. Both of those are pretty expensive. Yeah, sulfur is pretty expensive here. So those are the main problems. So let's just see if we can't fix this with production methods. I don't know what all we have available to change, but I'm sure there's some stuff that we haven't yet changed. We don't have dynamite. I think we're researching that, or we're getting it through the tech spread, so can't change that just yet. So that means there might not be, well, looks like they have some options here for the sulfur. Yeah, we can produce a lot more sulfur here. I mean, not lots, but that's a lot compared to what we're currently producing. So I think we're going to go ahead and do that, switch them all over to the condensing engine pump, and that'll reduce the prices of the sulfur some. And let me see if there's anything else that we could look at. Lead, I suppose. Yeah, we can look at lead real quick and see if there's any options here. Yeah, it looks like the condensing engine pump hasn't been changed here either, so we'll go ahead and do that for the lead mines. And how about iron? Have we changed those up? Not yet. That would drastically reduce the cost of iron, so might not want to do that just yet. But eventually, that'll be an option for us. All right, so that should help out the prices a little bit. Yeah, you can see coal's still a problem, so we need to use this construction points here that we have, and we'll use that on a coal mine. And we just see here, looks like the sulfur is still pretty expensive. When do we get the dynamite? Because that's going to be a great way for us to, okay, so it's going to be a little while, it looks like. All right, I was going to say that's going to be a great way for us to increase the production without having to build anything. So this is what we're going to do. Let's go ahead and get both of these, the sulfur mines and the coal mines. We'll get these built out first. So if there's any locations that we already have going and are profitable, we'll do there. So we got Virginia here and North Carolina. And then the sulfur. So with the sulfur, we already have these two locations, but neither of them are profitable, it's saying. We see here, it looks like we can get a lot in Texas, American Alberta. Problem there is you don't really have a whole lot of peasants available. So we'll do it in Texas. And, you know, as we build more explosives and stuff, we will need a lot of this. So you know what? We're going to build 2 levels of this in Texas. All right, so that's got them constructing there, but we're going to go ahead and start working on our military stuff. So the first thing we need to do is see if we've changed out all the production methods here, which you can see that we have not. So this is going to ramp up the cost of ammunition considerably. Going over to this here, again, ammunition really expensive, but so is artillery. And this is going to affect mostly ammunition. Small arms a little bit, but not too bad. Okay, so basically, if we don't want to have to pay for that, you know, these expensive military goods, we should go in and fix some of those first. See if we can't. So we'll take a look through the production methods, and if it can't be fixed that way, then we'll fix them with construction. I think it'd be wise to do this first. So with the arms industries, let's see what we got here. So right now we're just doing rifles. So we can go to the repeating rifles. That would make small arms like ridiculously cheap. Okay, but that doesn't fix our other issues. Unless we went over to breech loaders. That might fix it. So this is what we'll do. Let's go to repeating rifles. And then let me see what we currently have. Yeah, I'd say just switch them both over. It might be an extreme. What if we went that way? And then with these ones waited just a minute to see what the costs are before we change that up? Yeah, we'll take a look at the costs before making any further adjustments there. And then that does not fix the ammunition issue. There's not really a whole lot we can do there, though. Because we've already got all the production methods. So no changes that can be made here. Another thing we need to do is start switching over to publicly traded in some of our factories. Because we actually have a journal entry to do that. And it has some other benefits as well. So I think we might change those up here in a minute. But clearly we're going to need to get more ammunition. We'll take a look what the costs are. But first let's go through these and see which ones are worth changing. So we want to make sure that it's going to be profitable for them, or that they have enough money that they're making where it's not going to hurt them too bad. And I think probably about 20 is the number we're looking at. 20 pounds is what we would want it to be at, because that's typically a very nice profit that they're getting. So they can eat a lot of changes here. And it doesn't look like that's the case for all those food industries. So we won't change that up. But the textile mills, they could easily eat a pretty big chunk of money here. But that's really bad too, though. But I think they'll be fine. We're going to change that up. But yeah, just go to the publicly traded. It results in more capitalists. Now, it doesn't result in more money. So basically, the capitalists, you're getting more of them. That's giving jobs, which is great. And more people to be happy, loyalist, and that will affect politics as well. But it doesn't actually affect the politics as much as you'd think, because it's the same amount of money. So you just have more capitalists that are splitting that money. And wealth is an important factor for how much influence a pop has. So you're certainly adding probably a bit of influence to the capitalists overall with the higher numbers, but not as much as you think, because you're also splitting all that money up. So we'll switch them up for as many as we can, though. And which one are we looking at? We're looking at the furniture manufacturing. Okay, some of those are not doing well money-wise, so we'll not change all those up. This one will actually be profitable. Sometimes it does result in a bit of profit, and then you definitely want to do that to kind of help them out. Some of these are not doing well. If you notice, we don't always have the option to do the publicly traded. That's usually because you have to have a certain production method enabled for that particular type of building, and that's the reason why it's not available to you. And I think that's the case with many of these. This one's actually going to be profitable for the arms industry, so let's go ahead and change that up, because they're not actually making any money right now. So I think that'll change now that we made those adjustments. We also want to do this in the rural areas, because this is much more of an effect, because you're adding capitalists rather than aristocrats. So much bigger effect here. So I think we want to change those up in any place where we could really deem that being worth doing. Now, you'll notice here we got a notification that there's not enough qualifications to fully staff it if we were to change that up. So there's not enough people who can become capitalists in those locations. So in that case, you don't want to do that. Yeah, definitely want to do that in those locations. The coal mine's probably fine. Coal's worth a lot of money. So we'll be fine to change that up. Iron mines aren't making as much, so maybe not change them just yet. We can do the lead mines. Yeah, we don't want to affect their financial situation too much. We want them to have either a profit or be able to eat whatever the cost is that we're putting on them. So yeah, definitely missing some qualifications here. The fishing wharfs, they would make money, but they wouldn't be able to fully staff it with the capitalists, so we won't change that up there. Looks like we'd be fine doing the whaling stations. I think there's just the one whaling station, though, in Massachusetts. That's level 1 there. All right, so I think that means we're good to go. So let's go ahead and let it play for a second. So they capitulated. Obviously, that was a quick conflict as we expected. We got Han nationalism, so that's going to give us more authority. Excellent. But let's go and take a look and see how the economy's been affected by those adjustments we just made. particularly when it comes to military goods. I'm not seeing any expensive military goods here, guys. Yeah, ammunition's not too bad, so no problem there. Same thing with artillery and the small arms. So we could get away with probably making some more adjustments in regards to the PMs. So yeah, I think we're just going to change them all over, and then we'll fix them. We want them to be as good as possible. So yeah, we'll just change them all up, and then figure out what needs to be adjusted. And sometimes those are wrong, too. We got the identification documents. Is that the one we were working on? Yeah, so that gave us the 25 taxation capacity, and most importantly, the +1 max home affairs institution investment. Of course, we don't actually have the bureaucracy for that, but yeah, that will enable us to get the last level for the home affairs once we have the bureaucracy. So yeah, we'll want to get that eventually. But yeah, we clearly need to get more government buildings because we're also taking a penalty right here. Well, it's not a huge penalty. It's not a lot of tax waste, but there's a little bit there. All right, so we could help get the dynamite to get that quicker. I almost want to, because again, that would be a great way for us to, step up our production in the mines. It's only going to take 4 to 8 months now at this point, though, so I almost feel like we should just go ahead and wait. Yeah, I think we're going to wait to get that, and instead, probably get something for our military, guys. Since we're talking about going to war, so having the best technology would be incredibly helpful. And it's going to take 25 months to research this. So I think that's what we're going to do. Go ahead and get the hand-cranked machine gun. What I like about this is that it's just passive modifiers. We don't have to enable any production methods or produce anything. So yeah, just going to get the 5% kill rate and the +5 army defense. So we're going to get that 2 years here to get it knocked out. And just take a look at the economy. So T is irrelevant. There's just barely anybody even wants that right now. But yeah, coal is still expensive. Looks like we got some adjustments that are happening right now. Coal and sulfur, those have not been built yet, so that's the reason why those are still pretty expensive. And the Ripper murder at large is completed, so we caught him. The Ripper has been clapped in irons. The killer known as the New York Ripper, who has long plagued the state of New York, has finally been arrested. Alright, so this is going to increase our authority because we caught the killer. The play for power. So Harry Hunter, leader of the trade unions, has made a remarkable play for power in the capital in order to secure a spot for trade unions within the government. However, it's not entirely clear if they should be rewarded for their novel tactics. So we could say Harry Hunter should be recognized for this. That'll increase the interest group political strength of the trade unions. Are not all as fair in love and war. And that would reduce their strength and kind of irritate them as well. Well, we don't actually want the trade unions powerful right now. Yeah, I don't think we want them. I mean, maybe a little bit later they could be useful to get certain laws through because they're the only ones who support those laws. So yeah, maybe in the future. But for right now, I think we want to keep our current political factions powerful, which is the intelligentsia and the industrialists. That's kind of the route we're going. So let's go with this one. Not all is fair in love and war. Yeah, piss them off, but they'll be fine. Anarchism is spreading. Let me see if there's any notifications we need to be aware of here. Nope, we're fine. It looks like we have some open production, perhaps? Almost. So we'll finish this up, and then we'll see where we're at on the trade and see if we're ready to go ahead and start doing some more construction for the military stuff. Because yeah, I don't expect we'll do the war this episode. We got to build up a bit if we're going to be fighting major powers and great powers. Because I'm just expecting that it won't just be Spain. Alright, so let's just take a peek. I don't know if it's been long enough for any of these to be affected. And we haven't finished the coal mines or the sulfur mines just yet. Alright, so yeah, we're going to need to get more rails. No surprise there. Clothes and furniture could be improved, as could the paper. But as of right now, everything's in a good enough place that we can go ahead and start building up our military. So let's start with, we do need to get more barracks going, but I think we're going to start with the fleet. So right now, Matthew Perry has 20 ships under his command. There's a total of 25 in New England, but because he is only a Commodore, he can only control 20 of those. So just by promoting Matthew Perry, which is what we're going to want to do, we will enable him to control more units. And so now he's able to control the full 25 that we're getting from the New England area. But we're going to want a larger fleet here, guys, because we've already seen that Spain has, what is it, 30-something ships, 34 ships. That's just Spain. Cuba has 6, so that's 40 total. And then there's also other great powers that might get involved, but hopefully France will join us with their 112 ships. And the reason why I'm focusing on the fleet is because obviously Cuba is an island, so we have to do a naval invasion in order to win here. So, you know, in order to get them defeated, so we have to at least be able to mildly control the seas. It's not like Hearts of Iron 4 where, you know, basically if your fleet's smaller, you have no chance of controlling the seas until you destroy the enemy fleet. It's not like that in this game. You can still do naval invasions even if you don't have the larger fleet, but it does help, obviously. So let's go ahead and get the fleet built up a little bit, and we might not only focus on the New England one, because we also have the Dixie fleet, which of course needs an admiral still, but yeah, what I'm thinking is like 5 ships for the Dixie HQ and like 10 for Perry's fleet. Could give him the full 40. Yeah, I guess you could give him the full 40 and then 10, and that gives us 50 ships total. It's a respectable navy, but obviously doesn't compare to any of the great powers and their fleets. I mean, if just kind of show you some of these fleets here. 151 for the British, so if they supported the Spanish, then that's 150 ships you gotta fight. Austria's got 83 ships. Russia's not much of a navy here. Russians have 89 ships. So these are all countries who might get involved here. You know, we could easily look at who all might get involved here. So let's just say we want to conquer the city of Cuba. So we would have our ally of France, and these are the potential countries that might join. So we're looking at the British, Austria, and Denmark. So no Russians. That's what they currently command. So, I mean, it's really the British and the Austrians are the concerns here. Obviously, their fleet, we're not going to be able to contend with that. But the Austrian fleet, we might be fine, especially with the French helping us out. Yeah, I think we'll be good to go. It's only if the British join that becomes a problem. You combine the Spanish and British fleets and the Cuban fleet, and now you got, you know, 200 ships you got to contend with. So I think 50 ships will be enough. It's going to be expensive, guys, so just keep that in mind, that we're about to blow a bunch of money here. So let's go ahead and start spending money. So we need naval bases. That's how you get more ships. So with each naval base, that gives you 1 ship, kind of 1 ship and its supporting ships, which, you know, we could take a look at that in the production methods. So you guys have an idea of what we're talking about here. So it's like the flotillas in a sense. So these are the main ship class. So man of war, ironclad, battleship, whatever. And then they have support ships. So this is escort frigate, destroyers, carriers, you know, ships that are supporting the bigger ships. Convoy raiders, that's who's doing the raiding. You know, you have submarines, for instance. And then this is just the naval theory, which gives you some nice passive modifiers here and changes who's all employed. So that's the way the fleet production methods work. Oh yeah, let's go ahead and get these naval bases constructed. So remember, we need 10 in this area here. And of course, you can only build in locations that have access to the sea. So I'm thinking of building more in New York, as well as Massachusetts. I think we said we are going to get 15 total. So maybe some in New Jersey as well. Or the thing to consider, of course, is how many people they have available. So we're going to get maybe 5 there for now. Maybe we'll increase that a bit further. Another 5 here in Massachusetts. And the Maryland ones that you're seeing here, those are the ones that are in the Dixie location. I'm thinking maybe New Jersey. I want to say that there are some state effects here. Let me just take a look. So with the New York Harbor, you have the shipyards building throughputs, the port max level, and the naval base max level. Okay, so really only important for your shipyards. Got it, which we're going to need to build shipyards, but we need to keep that in mind. You can also build New Jersey, though. And looks like in Massachusetts, many of these places seem to have some nice bonuses. Not this area, though. Okay, so when it comes to our actual shipping industry, New Jersey, New York, and Massachusetts seem to be the best locations for us, guys. So that's where we want to build those, but we can build these naval bases pretty much anywhere. So we're currently getting 10 as of right now. Let's do 5 in New Jersey then. So we're doing 5 in each state here. And that'll give us those 15. Now we wanted 5 more in the Dixie area. I don't think there's anywhere here that has any effects when it comes to the fleet. We can look real quick, but yeah, I don't think there's any modifiers. You already have the 5 in Maryland, so it probably makes sense to just build it there. Could also do Louisiana though, or Texas, someone down here. We'll do 5 more in Maryland. Why not? If they have the peasants to work it. So I don't know how they're looking on peasants. I got 30,000. So we'll get 5 more here. So this is going to be kind of expensive, getting this done. But yeah, that's what we're going to work on, guys. Getting our fleet built up. And looks like France is continuing doing their expansion here. And, you know, we won't be able to declare neutrality because of our alliance, but we also don't need to actually help out, nor do they probably want our assistance. They don't need it. And unfortunately, we lost that bonus, which we're actually working on military tech, so it's a shame we lost that. We got an event discord within the armed forces. Speaking of the armed forces faction, an influential faction within the armed forces has grown frustrated with their co-members' neutrality on the topic of poor laws. Themselves in favor of the law, they have now resolved to form a separate political faction intent on passing it. So we say, with their support, the bill shall pass, 15% enactment chance, and they would get less pop attraction. Or you say the industrialists extend an open hand to these mavericks, and that would result in people leaving the armed forces and going to the industrialists, and it would not affect the enactment chance as much. But it's already pretty high. Now, I don't really have any problem with the armed forces being strong, though. So yeah, I think we're just going to actually go with this, the 15%, just to get it enacted quicker, so we can work on other laws. If we do, in fact, decide to go with another law, we'll have to see what's available and the chances of passing it, who's going to piss off as well. If we're talking about going to war soon, then we don't want a bunch of factions irritated at us. Probably wouldn't be the best way to go. All right, so we're getting those ships built up, and next would be the army. However, we already know that our man of wars are going to get more expensive because of this. So maybe we should preemptively deal with it by either looking at the production methods for our shipyards or perhaps building a new one. We'll see here what would be our best option, if there's even anything to adjust here. Yeah, we could actually go with reinforced wooden ships. That would only increase the clipper production, though, while requiring engines and hardwood, so probably not the best way to go. But I think not all of our shipyards are building man of wars yet. Just the Massachusetts one are. So what we could do is have New York build some to decrease the cost of man of wars. That would result in a higher cost for clippers, but again, we have a production method to adjust that. So I think that'll work, help out a little bit. We'll see how much more expensive it ends up getting. We do need more rails. Okay, so let's see if there's anywhere that needs to have them right now. It doesn't look like it. So we'll just continue with our current method of building them from east to west. Though I don't think we finished over here just yet, so we might want to work on that. Let's get some in Michigan. And then maybe finish the New England area. Build them anywhere we didn't already do it. Yeah, we got a lot of these, but not all of them. So yeah, we'll get those rails built. That'll, of course, affect the cost of like coal and engines and all that kind of stuff, so we'll have to keep that in mind. But with the coal, I think we should be able to fix that once we get that one tech, the dynamite. So you know what? I don't think we're going to build anything out there, guys. Let's just go and start working on the military building so we can get this done. And also figure out what our costs are looking like for our military goods. So let me see just how many units we currently have. Just kind of remind myself. So the one that's going to be important for increasing the size of is the New England one. Remember I mentioned this earlier in the series that for the naval invasions, the fleet and the army have to be in the same location. So that New England fleets that we just built up that we're going to be using for the naval invasion, they can only invade with the New England army. We cannot send those other armies. Now, once we have a front in Cuba, once the invasion is successful, then we can send them. They can just move over there. They don't need to do a naval invasion, and that won't be a problem anymore. But we won't want to move them all. Somebody needs to stay here for defense, because we might face our own naval invasions that we'll have to defend against if our fleet can't defend our coastline, which really kind of depends on who we're fighting. Like if the British are involved, then yeah, defending the coastline is going to be more difficult. So yeah, we do need to have at least one of these guys staying behind. Now, another thing to consider, because there's a bunch of factors that affect who can do naval invasions, and it's not very good. Because if you don't understand this, you can easily lock yourself out from doing naval invasions, or make it so that you can't win the naval invasion. It's impossible to win. So there's a couple key factors to mention. The first one I already told you guys about, the fact that they have to be from the same location, the fleet and the army. Another important one is that it seems to me, and this has just been my experience, that conscripts can't do invasions. The moment I put conscripts in an army, they're no longer available for an invasion choice. It's just not an option. So that's a huge negative, because what happens, because you can't demobilize, again, we're seeing these problems that are caused because of paradoxes of decision in the face of everybody else counseling otherwise. They decided that you can't demobilize troops. They don't want to let you do that, and here's a huge issue caused. You put conscripts in your army, in New England army, there's nothing you can do. I would never be able to make Cuba. We'd be in a never-ending conflict. I mean, I guess one thing we could do is build up a fleet somewhere else and then send that army, but if those armies have conscripts as well, there's nothing you can do. You're just stuck. You'd never be able to do the naval invasion. It'd be a never-ending war, or basically you'd have to like give in to whatever they wanted. It's better hope they don't want something major, because there would be no other options. You wouldn't be able to end it. I suppose you might be able to get a white peace if you can bleed them out enough, make it costly enough they don't want to fight the war anymore. I suppose there's that option, just white peace out. But if they just refuse to do that, then yeah, you'd be in a trapped position. So that's one thing you need to consider. Is, again, I've never seen Paradox say anything about this. I've seen no confirmation, but every time I put conscripts in an army, they're no longer an option for the invasion. Another thing to consider is that you get a massive penalty if the army is larger than the fleet. For whatever reason, the fleet can't make multiple trips, and they have to bring the entire army. So if you have 20 ships and you're trying to send 21 units, because literally one unit is all you need above the number, then they'll still go, but they'll have such a huge penalty to their attack that they'll never succeed. So you can't send more units than you have ships. So that can be a major problem. Now, luckily, that's kind of easier to fix because you can just assign a new general to that location. So let's say you're in New England here, you had 21 ships, or you had 20 ships and 21 units, then you could just assign another general. The number of units will be split between the two generals in the HQ. So, basically one general would have 10 and the other would have 11. And then you could easily fit one of those armies on your 20 ships. So it's easy to fix, but it's something to consider. If you're expecting to do an invasion with 20-something units and you don't have that many ships, you can't do that. So it's another thing to consider. A lot of little factors, but these naval invasions that the game just doesn't explain. You got to figure out on your own through trial and error. So luckily I did do those campaigns before we started this one, so I knew all that. So we didn't hurt ourselves here. But yeah, let's go ahead and get his army built up. Remember, we'll have 40 ships that he'll be able to use, so we can have up to 40 units, but we can't have conscripts. And he's going to be doing the invasion alone, so we need to have enough that he can actually successfully land. And so what I'm thinking, maybe 20 units or something. I know that's a lot. And I think we have enough states to get it. But yeah, I think that's what we're going to have to do. Is 20 units underneath the New England HQ, and then maybe a bit less for these guys because they can just rely on their conscripts. So yeah, that's probably the best way to go. Like 10 units here, 10 units here, and then yeah, 20 here. So basically we need to build 14, 4, and 2. So I was going to start working on that. Obviously it's going to take a little while. It's going to be very expensive as well, but that's warfare for you. It's expensive, as it should be. So what we want to do is like maybe 5 in each of these areas here. I suppose I should count how many I built. So I think that was 3. I think they're at level 2, so that'd be 3. And that'd be 6. Oops, messed that up. So that'd be 9. Remember, we're wanting 14 total. So neither of these areas have a lot of peasants, so probably won't go there. So we'll do 2 here. Yeah, so we'll do 2 here. That'll get us up to 11. 2 there's 13, and then one in Maine, so that'll get us up to 14 there. Hopefully, if I counted that correctly. And then we need to get 2 over here, I think, or 4. We have to get 4 over here. Yeah. So let's just, again, base this off of the number of peasants that are currently available. Yeah, we'll do 1 in Indiana, 1 in Kentucky, 1 in Tennessee, and 1 in Illinois. All right, so that'll give us those 4. And then we need 2 in the South. Let's kind of, again, base this off of, I mean, they don't have any here in Louisiana or Mississippi where everywhere else does, so they should have to serve 2. So we'll get the 2 there. All right, so tons of construction here. Luckily, they do build kind of quickly. But yeah, this is going to result in a huge change in military costs. Massive change. So we'll keep our eye on that and make sure we improve the situation there. And looks like we were, for a time there, I think that's because, yeah, we weren't building any of the barracks yet. So we were just using an investment pool that we had stacked up there. Yeah, we're back to losing money now. Yeah, I'd prefer to have closer to 5 million for this war. I expect it to be quite costly if a great power gets involved, which I'm just assuming will happen. We got this tech here, increasing the naval base max level. We also got a new production method for our naval bases, so we'll have to take a look at that, and access to new technologies. That can be researched. So let's go ahead and take a look at that new production method and see if we want to enact it. So I think these are all improvements, if I'm not mistaken. I believe it's just you continue to improve. What it does require a change in employment as well, so less servicemen and more officers. So basically you have to pay them more. Training rate goes up, offense, defense goes up, morale, damage, and damage protection goes up. So it's all good things here. So we'll go and change it up. I would have liked naval theory to, rather than just be continued improvement, to instead be like a choice of different types of strategies here that have different modifiers. I think that'd be better. But yeah, we'll go ahead and change over to that. And then once we get all these built, we'll take a look at what our costs are. Raising concerns. So the armed forces, and this is one thing that just happened over there. I don't know if you guys noticed that, but Lower Canada now owns all of Canada, with the exception of a little patch that's owned by Great Britain there. So just one Canada, rather than the Hudson Bay Company and Lower Canada, Upper Canada, so on. The armed forces have expressed their concerns about government decisions clearly favoring the interests of the industrialists. All right, so really what we decide here is just going to be based off of who we can phase an opinion loss. If we boost their opinion, we'd actually get that military technology research bonus again. So probably want to go that way, particularly considering that the industrialists love us. So yeah, we're going to go that way. And that'll get us that technology boost again. 10% military technology boost. Helpful since we are currently working on the military tech. So that'll be nice to have. All right, so really focusing on building up the American military. Kind of make us at least a little bit more in line with the rest of the world now. The American military mostly focuses on the conscripts, so we have large numbers of conscripts if you compare to other countries. Well, maybe not so much France here, but yeah, you can see for our population, we got a decent number of conscripts. It's our standing army that's kind of pathetic. We got dynamites. All right, excellent. So that's what we're waiting on, so we could just improve the situation with these resources with production methods. So that'll help us with the coal. Looks like this is the only mining good, that's got some problems. So we'll switch that over to the dynamite, and that'll likely make coal really cheap. Yeah, coal mines are going to have trouble, but explosives are going to get very expensive as well. So something to consider there. Explosives are going to get really expensive. We might need to change these piecemeal just because of how big of an effect these are going to have, guys. Yeah, it's probably for the best. So kind of change them a little bit at a time rather than change them all at the same time, because I just think it will cause too many problems. So we'll see how that looks. Obviously, explosives is something that we're going to need to work on the cost of. But let's just take a look, see how things are affected. So coal could still be cheaper. But yeah, it's not too bad. Yeah, not too bad at all. We'll probably do one more production method change. Ammunition is getting very expensive, so we need to take a look at that. And I'm not seeing the explosives being too high. Yeah, that's really not bad. But yeah, if we wanted to continue making adjustments, which we will, then we're going to need to get more explosives too. So I'm seeing explosives, ammunition, and engines being our problem, in addition to all the stuff up here. There's so many problems. So we need to build a lot, guys. Luckily, we're almost done with those barracks. So yeah, we'll be able to do that next. But let's go ahead and change over one more coal mine, the Ohio one, to the dynamite. And then let's see if there's anything we can do with the... So the munition plants, that's when we get the ammunition down. We already saw that, so I think that's the way to go. It will make explosives and lead more expensive, but that's okay. And we can now change them up to publicly traded, so we'll go ahead and do that as well. Urban center, we've seen that before. They can be changed if services become too expensive. As of right now, services are fine, so we're not worried about that at all. The arms industries. I think artillery's still at a good price, so we don't need to worry about that. So we'll leave that as is. Alright, so let's just see. Yeah, explosives are definitely very expensive at this point, so there's some adjustments being made there. Interest leader just died. Zachary Taylor just died. Alright, so that's a bummer. We never got to use him in a conflict. So we'll have to get another general there, of course. He was in the Midwest area. So I have a new general there. A popular playwright endorses reform. So if we go with the poor laws will be on everyone's lips now. It'll increase the enactment success by 10%. Instead, we can help the industrialists out, or you can just get the prestige. Let's just get this done, guys. Yeah, it's taking a little while. Alright, so steel is clearly a problem. I guess we can look at the steel mills real quick before we actually make any adjustments, because there might be stuff we can do here. Yes, there is. We can radically reduce the cost there. So we're going to do that. And we'll go with the publicly traded as well. I'm not sure how close we are to getting this done. We would need to put this over here so we can take a look at it. And we also got one for, because we just got the dynamite. So we can enact that as well, the booming industries. Nice little play on words there. So this is the one here, the public trading. We need to have 75% of eligible buildings using that. Probably not going to happen now that I see that. Yeah, we're only at not even 17% at this moment. So yeah, I don't think that's going to happen. So we did the steel. So we're good there. Obviously the luxury clothes, it's not that expensive, so I'm not too worried about it. Yeah, honestly, none of these are that bad. Might want to do the clothes, just kind of help our peoples out. And we'll want to do the engines as well. So yeah, that's what we'll get. So we'll do the clothing first. Or I guess we can do motor industries because we know where those are going. They're in Michigan. And then the clothing, textile mills. So we'll see if any of these are going to be profitable. Looks like Florida. So we'll build one in Florida. And it's not that expensive, so we really don't need to build more than one, I think. We'll need to continue getting rails as well. So we'll work on that. So let's go and do that now. Get more railways. So did we get everywhere up here? We did. All right, excellent. So I think that means we're good to continue moving west then into Indiana and Illinois, Kentucky, and Tennessee. Okay, excellent. So getting those rails connected. I noticed we do have some bureaucracy. Okay, I didn't see that. Then what we'll want to do is get more stars on our flag, because we actually have not added all these states in yet. Oklahoma needs to be added. Montana, Wyoming, Idaho, Washington, Oregon. And looks like we're going to have a bureaucratic shortfall here, so I did too many. Alright, well, these ones are not finished states anyways, so not that many people live in there just yet. So I think this is pretty good. So yeah, we'll get more stars. That's what's important here, guys. So essentially, we should probably get... Yeah, let's go ahead and get ourselves another government administration building. And just trying to get one in every location for now. Just based on peasant population. So we'll build one of those. We can do another university too. I suppose we'll build this in Pennsylvania and Massachusetts. But it's really ramping up our production here. We should also get, another construction sector. So let's go with New York, and we'll tick that up to the top so that gets done and is applied to the rest of these. So we got that done. And I want to say there's one more thing I wanted to get. I can't remember what it was, so I guess we won't build it. I know there's something. Oh yes, that's right. Let's go and take this up to the top. The construction sector. There we go. Beautiful. Start working on that. Get that done. Have a little bit more construction. And, you know, we are burning through that reserves that we have, but luckily we did build up quite a bit. But again, we do need some reserves for the, yeah, look at all that investment pool we had. Nice. So that's been applied to these. But yeah, we did have those reserves built up some, and we need it for the war. And so my goal here is to try and get this done. Yeah, I think we're done actually, aren't we? Yeah, looks like we're done. But yeah, my goal here was to get this done for the next episode so that we can start the diplomatic play and pick that up next episode. And we just make sure we have all the units that we wanted here. So we need another general in the Midwest. So we got 2 southern planters. Heck, between one of these 2 here. And he's got a negative trait here, but it won't affect him as a commander. That's a drop in health there. But yeah, he's persistent, so it's a 50% morale damage protection. That will also make up for his health loss there due to his psychological affliction. He's a pillager, so that means more devastation. Not exactly a good thing if you're wanting to conquer an area. This will result in 25% morale recovery. Oh, that's Robert E. Lee. Okay, so historical character here. He was one of the top generals of the Confederacy in the American Civil War. Yeah, he was supposedly brilliant. You know, he was obviously on the wrong side of that conflict. But as far as his military abilities, he was considered one of the best of the war. But yeah, he has the very good experienced defensive strategist, which could be pretty useful for us. He's innovative, and that will result in him being more likely to do surprise maneuver. And he's direct. And so that's a 10% offense. You know, I'm not entirely sure that he's the better character here. It'd be great for defense if that's what we wanted to use him for, which I suppose we could. And we could use him for our defensive guy, because that's a great one to have. But yeah, I feel like, well, this guy's the pillager. I feel like this guy's actually better as far as like some of his modifiers he's getting. The 50% morale damage protection is really nice to have there. Morale recovery, nice to have. His troops are going to have a lot of morale. He also can command more troops, though that's not really an issue for us. Not too much anyway. Yeah, I suppose we'll go with him. Largely because he has that pillager. What's that devastation? I mean, we want to conquer the territory that we're going to be sending him in. And also, he would be, I think you still get that even if you're fighting defensively. That'll be in your territory. I don't think that's only an offensive thing. I think devastations, regardless, is wherever he's at. So if he's like, you know, defending our coastline or something and we get invasions, that means he's going to be destroying our own crap. So I think it's probably better to go with him because of that pillager. Otherwise, I'd go with him. With Judah Carey. But yeah, we're going with Robert E. Lee. He'll be our general in the south. Alright, so just need to build 2 more over here. I thought I clicked a state more than I actually did. You know what? I think New Jersey, I thought I clicked that once more than I did. So that would explain part of the problem there. I've already fully built up in these other states here. Connecticut has some peasants. So yeah, I guess we'd do 1 for Connecticut. Why not? They gotta fight 2. Alright, so we'll get those 2 additional barracks, and we're gonna tick those up to the top so that we can get those done. So we'll get those up there. I did want to take a look at the engine, see just how expensive those are. They're not too bad. Glass is really expensive though. Yeah, I missed that one. Alright, so we'll go ahead and get the glass, and we'll tick that up to the top since I forgot to get that. So as far as ones we already have, and none of these are very profitable. So let's just go with somewhere else then. Somewhere that has some peasants. Go with like Kansas and Nebraska or something, or Washington, although they don't have a lot of peasants. I don't think we built much there in Washington, so I think it makes sense to get this here. So we'll build the glassworks in Washington, because we haven't built much over here in the American Northwest. Oh yes, that's right. I wanted to tick that up to the top, or just under the barracks anyway. There we go. Just make sure they're being that we're actually working on that and that's getting produced. So we got some important notifications here. We are out of convoys, so we're gonna need to fix that. And also we can get one more interest as well, it looks like. Yeah, we can get one more interest. So let's go ahead, and that's because of our fleet. The number of interests you can have is based largely off of your rank, so no great power is going to be able to have more than major powers and so on, but also your fleet. Your fleet is really important for the number of interests you can have, so by building the fleet up, we can now have more interest, and I guess it would be France, even though we don't really need them there anymore because they're an ally, but frankly, there's nowhere else we're even interested in being in at this point, so yeah, it doesn't really matter where we declare it, because I don't really even care what's going on in Europe, but we'll go and do the southern part of France as well. That'll be our declared interest. So glass and explosives are expensive. We knew the glass, but let me just take a look at the explosives. I didn't see those before being expensive. Yeah, I mean, they're getting there. They're not that bad. But once the war kicks up, that's going to be very expensive, so we should probably do something about that now. So let's go and take a look here at the chemical plants and see what we can do, because I think we have not moved over all the way. We haven't. So yeah, we can actually move these over and get more explosives and less fertilizer fairly easily. So yeah, it's just not too bad. That is going to increase the cost of sulfur though. So there's that to consider as well. But let's go and change those up. We'll change them both up. We actually want explosives to be pretty cheap. So we'll change both of those over, and then we might need to make an adjustment to the sulfur, because that could become a problem. But I think we haven't done the dynamite yet, so we can always do that if sulfur becomes too expensive. It's not too big of an issue here. Yeah, so you can see that explosives now are much cheaper. It's not a problem anymore. Sulfur has increased in cost, but it's not that bad. So I think we're pretty much good there. So I believe we can go ahead and start this up now. And then this is where we'll also have to end the episode, unfortunately. So we're going to be doing the Conquer State, Cuba. France will join us, and there's the potential possibility that the British or the Austrians, there's other countries as well, but they're minor powers or just major powers in the case of Sweden. We'll see if they join. I highly doubt they will. It's really the British or the Austrians that I'd expect. And I don't think they would join on their own. I think that the Spanish would give them something to get them to join. So let's hope that if one of them does join, it's the Austrians and not the British. Of course, the Austrians have the larger army, but the fleet is more what I'm worried about, because they'd have to do naval invasions or send them all to Cuba, I suppose. Cuba could get packed full of troops. I guess that'd be a problem. All right, so we're starting the diplomatic play, guys. This is the first major diplomatic play we've started here, and you can see that they are fearful. And this is Spain, not Cuba, since Cuba is a puppet. So they are fearful of us. Maybe they'll be so scared that they'll, completely abandon Cuba. As far as war goals, I will add one more. We don't want to, do anything that's going to produce a lot of infamy and get countries wanting to go against us. However, this war is going to be expensive, so let's make the Spanish pay for it if we win. So we'll do the Spanish war reparations as well, and I'm thinking that's it, guys. I really don't think anything else will be necessary. You could, if you want to do something historical, we could have them transfer control of the Spanish Philippines for us, so this would be like the Spanish-American War, except for, we're getting Cuba instead of Puerto Rico. So we're going after Cuba, and then we get the Philippines as well. So we could do that, but that's going to produce infamy. Yeah, I don't think we should, guys. I don't think that's in our best interest. And we might need to sway countries, because as you can see here, Austria is already leaning towards Spain, as is Sweden. And none of them are actually interested in going towards us. There's no sway that they would accept. Now, we already have France, of course, so I'm not worried about it, but it just means we wouldn't be able to pull anybody out of it. So they're already mobilizing. We will wait a little bit before we mobilize ourselves. Spain just declared us a rival. Essentially, what the rivalries do is they do cap what your opinion can be with them. But the main thing that they do, and we'd have to declare a rival for ourselves, so we'd have to make Spain our rival, is to increase your influence. So it's a nice way to get some extra influence there. But I don't know if Spain is really truly a rival. I mean, we're just going to take Cuba from them, and then, yeah, I don't see if we'll ever have any other issues with them. Continue having migration into our country, and there's an election upcoming, and there's a new party, the Free Trade Party, so that means that no longer are the industrialists going to be allied with the intelligentsia, because they have two separate parties. right, so they're not, a combined force anymore. So that's going to be an issue. While the Democratic Party here is still all for of their current interest groups. Okay, so take a look at the election situation here. Oh, it hasn't popped up yet because it just happened, so you got to wait a day. So yeah, you can see the Democratic Party is definitely going to win this election, as they've won most of our elections. And there's the big news there, guys. This is going to become a big conflict. I knew they would sway somebody. I was hoping for Austria. It's the British. So the British have just joined into this conflict. They've been swayed by Spain, probably for an obligation, I assume. So yeah, that's unfortunate. So now it's going to be... I did expect this. I expected somebody else to get involved. I was hoping no. Now, we can pull somebody else in Denmark because of the British going in. They are now interested in something. They want to just humiliate Spain. So we make this into an even bigger conflict, because why not? And I'm willing to offer that. And we have the maneuvers to do it. So yeah, if they accept that... vulnerable front. Okay, so that's not even our front. But the West Indies front is vulnerable. And Austria has also been swayed. Wow, we got like a world war on our hands, guys. Yeah, this is a major conflict now. Let's hope the Spanish back down. Let's go and get our troops starting to mobilize. It's about time, guys. Well, that's interesting. It will not allow me to mobilize him because it says he's busy. But I don't know what he's busy doing. Not with the election, is it? I mean, I guess it could be. I'm not sure what to do here because the plan was to send him on the invasion. And if we can't invade him with him, it might just be the election. I'm not entirely sure. I don't know what else he could be doing. Because that doesn't tell you what he's doing, just says he's busy. I mean, it says he's standing by there at the New England HQ. So I'm not entirely sure what's going on there. Let it sit for a second. Well, we got to raise these conscripts up. So what we're going to do, just in case this doesn't work, the Midwest HQ can't get fleets. And so what we'd have to do if we wanted to do an invasion of Cuba, we'd have to then use the Dixie HQ with their 10 ships. We could always build more ships. But that means that we cannot raise up any conscripts for the Dixie HQ. Because then we wouldn't be able to do the naval invasion. And just in case this doesn't work, I don't know what the hell's going on here. Maybe it's just the election again, but I'm not entirely sure. So, yeah, I think we'll have to wait to be able to do that invasion until he's no longer busy, obviously. And we should plan for that him always being busy, just in case, in case something's not working properly. And thus we'd use the Dixie HQ to do the invasion instead. So essentially we need to keep them without any conscripts. So we'll only raise conscripts under Robert E. Lee, which that's fine because he's our experienced defensive strategist. So he's the one we'd want to use for defense anyways. And therefore, what we'll do, I don't think there's any fronts here that we need to defend on because Canada's not actually getting involved. They're not going to be forced to get involved despite being a puppet. So yeah, they won't be involved there. So even with the British in here, there's not going to be any fronts here. It's all going to be about naval invasions and the fleet. With the British fleet involved, yeah, we are going to be outnumbered in the seas. But you'll see how it works, guys. It's not quite like Hearts of Iron 4 where it's just the smaller fleet is just doomed to lose. But you'll see how it works. But let's raise conscripts up for the Midwest then. So remember, with his current ranking, he can have 40 conscripts. And I'm kind of thinking of raising all 40 for Robert Lee since we can't do any other ones right now. So I think that's what we're going to do. Robert Lee will get 40 conscripts to defend the homeland. So those do need to all be in that Midwest HQ. We don't want to mess this up and put them in the wrong location. So let's raise up 40 units there, guys. All right, so it's going to be activating the conscription centers. And you can get a lot here in Ohio. Get pretty close to the 40. Let me just look. Okay, so it's up this way. So yeah, we can get pretty close to the 40. And in fact, I don't even think you can get 40 without... Well, actually, no, if you did both Kentucky and Tennessee. Because I think both of those are in that. Yep, they're both in that region. So you could avoid doing Ohio if you wanted to. If you don't want to pull up the whole 26th there and have like a lot of Ohioans fighting. That'd be the majority of the army. So yeah, if you did both of these here... Yeah, I'd give you 33. So that's what we're going to do. Because it's 33 and we just need an additional 7. Seeing how the best way to break that down would be. If this is, yeah, that's his region. So, yeah, you do 5 and then 2. Yeah, we'll do 2 right here. All right, so that looks good. We're going to raise those up. That's going to take some time for them to get that done. And so, yeah, he'll have 50 units total. And hopefully that'll be enough. Since we're not raising up any other ones, we can always promote him if we need to give him more troops. We're able to pass poor laws. All right, that's excellent. So we got that done. There's the 40% welfare payments, enables a social security institution. That's going to hit us on the bureaucracy there. And this is the bonuses that they get there, the 40% welfare payments, and then anybody that's receiving welfare will have 15% less political strength. We're getting a boost with the industrialists and the trade unions, while irritating the southern planters. The Spanish and the French have declared a rivalry. Okay, not surprising there. And Denmark did decide to be swayed by us and is going to join into this conflict. So basically it's us, France, and Denmark against Spain, the British, the Austrians, and of course Cuba, who this affair is over in the first place. So this is going to be a very large conflict, guys. And we'll just have to see what happens on the mobilization, like how many troops everybody actually mobilizes, because they're not going to mobilize their entire army. So you can't simply look at the number of troops and determine there how many you're going to need. Now, you notice there's already fronts here. So this is where the French and the British are going to be fighting. They're going to be fighting here in all these Caribbean islands that they are able to, fight across because of the connections there. And it looks like the British are demanding a New York treaty port and humiliating the French. So yeah, they want access to our market. Okay. And then we're going to humiliate Spain as well. Yeah, we don't want to add anything else here because we don't want anybody to leave. They can still leave up to a certain point. So I think in the escalation, even after you sway them, they can leave. In fact, you can sway them away. So you can see that we could sway the British or the Austrians away from them. As long as we're in this period, they won't get the stuff they were told they'd get if they were swayed away. But that's what I really like about the political play mechanic, is that you can see some bouncing back and forth and negotiating. Obviously not much open to us right now because nobody's really willing to take anything from us for whatever reason. And that seems to be one of the restrictions I've noticed, is that there's not a lot you can do a lot of times to get people to come over to your side if they just don't want to. There's not much you can offer them, which I guess is accurate. They're not interested. So the Danish are currently mobilizing. Wait a minute, click on that. I want to see what our expensive government good is. Still the glass. With the mobilization, you're going to see a lot of the military goods get more expensive. So we'll have to pay attention to that and see if we make any adjustments. Need to make any adjustments there. Currently working on the glass, getting the rails going. Got all this stuff already kind of constructing here. On the public trading, we got to 19% there, so that's not going to happen. I don't think we're going to get that in time. And we got 6 years. We do have plenty of time. So this is currently the number of troops that are mobilized, and you can see that they have a lot more troops as of right now mobilized than we do. 391 compared to 281. So we're definitely outnumbered here. But we are fighting two great powers. We got two great powers too, I guess. Us and the French. And Spain's a major power while Denmark is not. Oh yeah, I didn't even think about the fact that they're going to have the border, because the war is with Spain. They're going to have this border here. We can send our own troops to kind of assist. And maybe we should fight on other fronts. Maybe we should help the French out over here. Look for other fronts where we could help. You just kind of wipe out little fronts like over here. You can help out there. The British have 1 unit. So we can kind of just take care of these little fronts, because maybe 10 units is not going to be as useful here on this front. Maybe we'll help out if we see that they're vastly outnumbered there. But yeah, I'd like to send them so they can do something. I think that's the way to do it, guys. And then we can always bring them back if need be. So this is what we're going to do. Let's go ahead and advance the front here into Gambia. That's our way of assisting. Now we're going to take high casualties, high attrition in this area. But yeah, I think that'll be one way for us to assist. Just kind of just wipe out any territory where they neighbor each other. That's what I'm thinking. So you could come over here next if you wanted to. Actually, I'll leave it up to you guys, because we're ending the episode here. Because we're not going to do the war in this episode, obviously. It's already gone pretty long. Would you prefer that I attack in these areas here and get them knocked out so we can get some victories and kind of help out? We'd be fighting here in Africa. There's a lot of units to send to Africa, though, 10 units. Or do you think we should come over here and help defend the French front to ensure that the Spanish aren't able to push forward here? That'd be the other option. Send them over there and focus on defense. Obviously, we already talked about this. Robert E. Lee is going to be staying here and defending our own territory. That's why I gave him all those units. And Simon here, yeah, I don't know. We'll just wait and see if he'll become available after the election. Maybe. We'll see. That's what I'm hoping. And then he'll be doing the invasion of Cuba. And then what we'd probably have to do is split the Midwest Army. Yeah, probably split the Midwest Army or something. Or send William Schuberk over here to help us out, because 20 units is not going to be enough to actually conquer Cuba, I don't think. So I know it's exciting. We're about to have our first major conflict. It's going to be a massive conflict, very expensive conflict as well. You see, we already are down to 3 million, so we went to 4-point-something million, down from that to 3.02 million, and we're losing a ton of money right now, guys. We are probably going to need to increase taxes just to kind of help pay for this war a little bit. So probably increase taxes in some capacity. And we're clearly going to have to go in debt as well, because it's going to be a very expensive conflict. But yeah, it's exciting. We're about to have our first major conflict here, our first major war. Kind of show how that works in the game. And again, I wasn't expecting it to be such a big conflict when I started this over Cuba. But yeah, it ended up being much larger than anticipated. So I'm certainly excited for the next episode. Do hope you enjoyed this one, though. If you did, make sure you leave a like on the video, subscribe to our channel, hit that notification bell, and leave a comment. Do hope to see you guys on that next one, and thanks for watching.